spots. So
yeah, we had a talk on Monday.
Good.
Yeah,
that's great.
I know Steve. He's active in the community in Coffee Park.
Oh, good. It'll be nice to have someone from that area actually on cab. So yeah. Cool. Right. Let's see here.
yeah, and Chris is set to come to the 28th meeting.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
So do I need to give him time on the agenda?
It would be, well, I mean, he could be part of opening, but then he'd only have 3 minutes or something. So it might be better to give him some actual time, don't you think?
Yeah.
But
okay.
Yes, I feel like it's very important that he imparts his wisdom and enthusiasm.
Okay.
Experience. So
I'm letting Magali know. Which is, man, that's going to be rough for her. She's not going to be able to be there. So we'll see what she decides to do. It's okay. So we do have, just to let you guys know, we do have a full subcommittee now. Damien emailed me earlier today. He can't make it tonight, but he will be joining the subcommittee. So when Vince comes back, we will have a full subcommittee.
Oh, good.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. How's the other subcommittee doing?
We haven't met because of my school schedule, but there's only 2 people on that subcommittee, so.
And it's not about your school schedule. You don't have to even mention that.
Oh.
It's about 2 people. It's about only 2 people.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true. But yeah, I will have to find in the fall, have to figure out these meeting times for subcommittees because I will not be able to do it with school. So I have to figure that out. All right. How long do we want to give the next member?
Could we all hold out till 6:10?
Yeah.
Does that work? Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. I know that there's a lot of traffic and more so it's just like in this past week, I feel like the traffic has been a little bit more impacted and crazier. I don't know how you guys experience it, but it just seems more like at odds. And
I don't ever leave my house.
Oh, there you go.
I'm always here. My daughter actually, her boyfriend lives in Windsor, and every now and again, they're driving back and forth. But she said that the last week there seemed to be a lot of accidents on the
Maybe
highway.
that's what I'm feeling. I mean, we do live near a major intersection, so.
Yeah.
Would it be allowed if I share something that I heard today at the mayor's meeting? That I think
Go
you
ahead.
guys would all.
We don't have a quorum and we haven't started the meeting, so it's fine.
So it's just like sharing like grade school. Keith might already know this, but the county was looking to come downtown, which they're still looking to come downtown potentially. And I had heard about the one site right there between or next to the post office, that parking lot right there, and maybe incorporating in the central library. But what I hadn't heard about, which I'm very excited about, because I had thought this was a good idea long ago, is potentially the Sears building. Yeah, and everything Sears in the mall. So they're just doing their study analysis, but so who knows where that'll go. But even the potential of that and just looking at it as a viable solution and building on there, that's pretty cool. I always thought
Yeah.
that the whole mall could use a boost like that.
I know that there's been a lot of conversations around what to do with the mall, like in the downtown specific plan work that had happened, and then also general plan update. I'm sure it's come up in conversations, but it seems like for the last couple years at least, that's been a topic of conversation amongst a lot of people.
Yeah, well, the city, but it's the first time I've heard the county
Yeah.
publicly that's been allowed to be said out loud. So that was pretty cool. And
So yeah, and kind of tying into that, city is doing a downtown station area historic resource
yeah,
evaluation.
I saw that.
So
That's
I
a good
just
one to
put
know
in
about.
the chat our engagement site for that. So we finally launched our digital engagement platform, and this is one of the first projects we put on there. So there's an opportunity. You guys, please feel free to check it out. You play around with the tools. I believe with this project, you can play. There's an interactive map, so you can use the pins on the map. You can post ideas on the virtual idea post-it. You can share stories about either your favorite place downtown or a real special place downtown and why it's special to you. It's really cool, like what you could do here. You could ask questions about the project. There's also a guest book, which is pretty cool.
Yay.
Oh, all right. Yes. Anyway, so check it out when you get a chance.
There she is. I can feel Candace huffing and puffing to get here. I can feel that. I can feel it. You're here. Take a breath. You're good. You're on mute too, if you want.
Sorry, I'm late. The
Oh.
hospital just called. My nephew's in the Air Force and he's got COVID and his wife has COVID and they have a newborn. So we're trying to figure out how to get the baby here.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
wow.
really awful.
I know.
Wow.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's okay.
No. Oh my
No
gosh, that's a
worries.
lot. It's a lot for you to handle.
Yeah. Grandma's working on it and getting his parents involved. So hopefully they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, but it's going to take a whole team to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, definitely. And I'm sure it'll be quite expensive to get a flight out tonight or in the morning.
Oh,
Wow. Yeah.
ugh, that's rough, especially with the newborn. Ugh.
Yeah. She's pretty little. She's 3 months old.
Oh, poor baby.
Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm
All
so
right.
sorry
Well,
that's happening.
Thank you. So I'm sorry I'm late, but I'm present. I'm here. I'm focused.
awesome. All right. Well, thank you for being here, everybody. So we don't have a facilitator for this meeting. So whoever wants to facilitate, and then this group will eventually need to decide who will be the facilitator moving forward. So it could be a subcommittee chair, or it could just be a designated facilitator, however you guys want to do it.
So
Who wants to facilitate?
Keith, do you want to facilitate? You're good at it.
Sure, I'd be happy to. All right, well, I'll call this meeting to order at 6:11 p.m. Put up the agenda. Let's do a roll call. Remind me, do I go through a name or do they?
No. We have all members present except for member Tornado, who's not here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Member Harper and Member Square will be joining us next month. So I'm not going to count this absence against him just because he joined today. So, but he'll join next month.
All right, and then public comments. Do we have anyone here for public comment? Anyone on the line?
Let's see here. It doesn't look like we have anybody in attendance from the public.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Sorry, there are no hands raised for public comment.
Thank you. That brings us to new business. 3.1, overview of subcommittee. That's Danielle.
Yes. Give me 1 second here so I can make my note. There we go. Okay. I'm going to share my screen here. Maybe. There we go. Everybody see this right here? Yeah. Okay, cool. So I think Chair Graves and Member Roberts are pretty familiar with this, but for Member Steffi and Member Richardson, this is the community empowerment subcommittee. We call it the empowerment subcommittee, strategic objectives. And most of them, this subcommittee has worked on in the past. So implementing NeighborFest, that's one that was done in 2019, assisting the Office of Community Engagement in implementing that program. But as I mentioned earlier this afternoon in our other meeting, NeighborFest has been suspended due to the pandemic. So we will be talking about that in just a little bit because it looks like we will be able to move forward with implementing it next year. So I'll get to that in just a moment. Other objectives are creating a civic engagement academy, proactively attending neighborhood meetings, and then it says new, but we've been working on this most of this year, is creating a series, assisting our department in creating a series of Civic 101 videos. So actually, I believe we started on that last year. And so members of the subcommittee actually worked together, put together some content for those videos. And that content actually went into not only creating the videos, but also into the citizen guidebook to participation. Quick note on that, everyone, the draft of the guidebook is complete. So it's being reviewed right now by the city attorney and the city clerk. And then at the end of this month, we will be sending it out to all CAB members to review the final draft, as well as holding a series of focus groups with community members to review it as well and see if it's easy enough to understand. It contains everything that they would want to know about participating in their local government. So more to come on that as we get there. But the Civic 101 videos, I'm also excited to let everybody know, is we have just finished writing the scripts for that. Magali's in the process of reviewing those, and then we'll be sending them over to FTA Productions, where they will start putting those into action. And so we may need some actors, so I'll be reaching back out to you guys to help with either acting out scenes or doing voiceovers. I know Member Roberts had mentioned that he was interested, and I think Member Steffi had also mentioned that she might be interested in doing some of that. So you'll be hearing from me soon in regards to voiceovers and maybe acting. I know that we have 1 or 2 scripts that will involve the mayor and some of the council members too. So I'm really looking forward to getting those going. So that's basically what the subcommittee has been working on since last year. I'm hoping eventually, either this year or early next year, we can get back to proactively attending neighborhood meetings as things start to open up again, and people are able to, or neighborhood groups actually are able to hold their neighborhood meetings in person again. In the meantime, Magali would really like some help around planning for NeighborFest 2022, getting your ideas. I will, in just a moment, go over what NeighborFest is for those of you who did not get a chance to participate in 2019. and don't know much about it. But before I jump into NeighborFest, are there any questions about the work that the subcommittee is doing?
Question, comment, Danielle. As far as neighborhood meetings, I keep hearing us having a little bit of a roadblock because we're waiting for them to happen. They are happening.
Okay.
And so there's a number of neighborhoods that are meeting still virtually. There's some that are getting together in parks. So and or even having other activities, and other groups that are kind of hybrid of neighborhoods. Like at the beginning of June, there was and I'm forgetting what the name of it is, but met with council member Victoria Fleming and Santa Rosa together. So I would hope that we could kind of fast track that and get ourselves aligned with some of those meetings. And really get in touch with folks and be a little bit more proactive.
Yeah, definitely. I hope that you guys will take that on. However, I really think what needs to happen is finding out which neighborhoods are meeting right now, how they're meeting in person or virtually, and when those meetings are happening, dates, times, etc. So and I also want to make it clear too that it's not just this group that's attending meetings. The hope is that the whole CAB will participate in attending neighborhood meetings, especially for those that are assigned to various areas. That way they can stay connected with the area that they've been appointed to. So, or the neighborhood that you live in, for example. So,
and I
that
had
is the part that this, yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I had compiled that list, and I think at one point there was some talk of it coming to CAB, and then either the CAB meeting got canceled or something happened, and I wasn't able to share it. But I do have a pretty good list already started, and
Great.
What I'll do is I'll kind of dust it off a little bit and revisit it, and then bring it to our meeting on the 28th.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I simply put out a little something to folks that I knew, and then I also put out something on Facebook, and the response was really positive. There was quite a few that are still going, have been going.
I'm also thinking too, we have the digital engagement site now. We can create a neighborhood page that can be like, where neighborhoods can go and share what they're working on and share their meeting times. So I'm going to put that down for myself too. I've been thinking about that too, not just for CAB, but just outside of that too. So I'll go ahead and put that together.
That'd be great.
Okay.
All right. Any other further questions or comments about the overview of the subcommittee? Okay, then let's go to 3.2, planning for NeighborFest 2022.
Okay.
I think that's going right back to Danielle.
All right, so I'm gonna actually share. Oops. Hang on a second here. Sorry about that. Get to NeighborFest. Oh man. Okay. And hopefully you can see the NeighborFest website here. So you can get to this by going to srcity.org/NeighborFest. What you will find here on the page is what NeighborFest is. The information on here was really centered around our 2019 pilot project, which was so the Neighborhood Engagement or Empowerment Network from City of San Francisco helped us create our program. So NeighborFest started in San Francisco. Really, the project is centered around bringing neighbors together, so neighborhoods together, to get to know one another and build that social cohesion and social connectedness, and also prepare for a disaster at the same time. And it is modeled after not only the program in San Francisco, but also FEMA's whole community concept of preparedness as a shared responsibility. And so you can check out all of those different sites here on the website. Our pilot program was funded through the Community Foundation of Sonoma County, the Healthcare Foundation of Northern Sonoma County, and through the United Way of the Wine Country in 2019. That was one-time funds. And so what the CAB decided to do was make it part of their strategic plan and use CAB grant funds to provide money to neighborhoods that want to do neighbor fests. And so in the CAB grant program, they can apply for funds to do Neighbor Fest. There's also a different tier where they do just Neighbor Fest. There's a different tier where they can do both Neighbor Fest and a community improvement project together. And we don't have to talk about that tonight, but that is an option. So there's two different funding tiers once we get back to doing Neighbor Fest and doing it in person. I won't show the video tonight, but there is a nice little video clip. Channel 7 News came out to one of our Neighbor Fests in 2019 and did a nice little story on that. So again, NeighborFest is a block party that offers neighbors the chance to come together, have fun, and build a stronger, more connected community. And the reason why we decided to do NeighborFest, it was an idea that came out of the 2017 wildfires. We heard a lot of people say that during the wildfires that year that they really weren't sure what to do. They weren't sure if anyone was going to come to help them evacuate. And many people relied on their neighbors to help them do that. And so we found this program and thought, what a great idea to implement in Santa Rosa, so that not only are people getting prepared for a disaster, but they're getting to know their neighbors a little bit more so that they can rely on one another during either another wildfire or a disaster. So NeighborFest aims to strengthen social cohesion or connectedness, resilience, and prepare neighborhoods for disaster. And this is the big one. Research has shown that the more connected neighbors are to each other, the stronger their resilience is after an emergency. So I mentioned the pilot program. We had 8 neighborhoods involved in that. We engaged with over 1,200 people from all 8 neighborhoods. So we have a final report that is available for everyone to read right here on the website. So feel free to take a look at that when you get a chance. We also developed a toolkit to help neighborhoods plan for their event. So it's available in English and in Spanish. We will most likely have to update this for next year. So my team will work on that. It includes things like, well, how do I put together a block party? What permits do I need? What kind of roles and responsibilities can people have on the planning team? What kind of food should I serve? Things like that. So take a look at that. It's a really helpful tool for neighborhoods to have. So basically how NeighborFest runs, we provide them with the funding, $2,500 for just the single NeighborFest event, or $5,000 if they do the NeighborFest event plus the community improvement project. They do all of the planning for their event. It's all on them to decide what they want to have there as far as food, entertainment, different community booths. And what we do in return is the city of Santa Rosa comes out, provides information on evacuation routes, emergency alerts and notifications. We sign people up for SoCo Alert, talk to people about the differences between SoCo Alert and Nixle, and why it's important to sign up for SoCo Alert. And we also do, the CAB actually worked a lot on this in 2019 with our department, as we do a Map Your Resilientville activity. So we bring in a large map of the neighborhood, and neighborhood members can can come up to the table and the CAB members lead them through an activity, so a mapping activity. So they're looking at it and they talk about where they can find fresh water if for some reason, their water gets turned off, where they can evacuate to if they have to evacuate, and what the best evacuation route might be. A meeting place that's nearby. If somebody has like a generator that they might be able to share for just a small little bit, who are those people that might have that resource? Who has medical training, and where's the nearest hospital? So it's a really nice activity that brings the neighborhood together to map that out. They get the map at the end of the event. And then if they want to continue working on disaster preparedness for their neighborhood, then we link them to staff at the fire department that can help them do that. And then we do the evaluation of the program as well. So again, most of the planning for the event itself is done by the neighborhood, and we just come in and bring our resources. We also partner with American Red Cross. They come in and do individual disaster preparedness as well as some first aid demonstrations. We also have some mental health resources for the neighborhoods. And the library came out in 2019, and I know that was something that they wanted to continue partnering with us on. And so we bring in those community partners that want to be involved also. So with that, I will go ahead and stop sharing and then answer any questions that you may have. None?
Anyone have questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
I'm just curious, and I'm new at this. What is like my responsibility to initiate one of these things to happen, either in my neighborhood or in any neighborhood, because I'm an at-large member? Or are they marketed to from the city and they raise their hand and say, I want to do it?
Yeah, so it's tied together with a community improvement grant program. And so what'll happen there is once we are given the thumbs up to go ahead and have NeighborFest for next year, then we will update the CAB grant application. And then in your outreach that you do for the CAB grant program, you will let, say your neighborhood know that this is an opportunity that's coming up that they can apply for. And then sharing it, we will market it as well, like we do for other parts of the grant program. So it's kind of like what we talked about earlier today at the grant meeting that we had. We rely on you to do outreach on your own to your neighborhoods and your community contacts, and then we do the traditional, city communication channels to push that out.
Okay, sounds good. And the ones that did it in 2019, have they been in contact saying they want to do it again?
Yes. So the following year, 2020, is when we opened it up through the CAB grant program, and we had 2 neighborhoods that participated in 2019 apply through the CAB grant program to do that. And as we all know, pandemic hit. So what they decided to do is just do their community improvement project piece of it, instead of doing the in-person NeighborFest event. But they have expressed interest in, once we open it back up, to doing those again. However, really like to see other neighborhoods participate that haven't gotten a chance yet either. So.
Right, makes sense. And also the 8 neighborhoods, that isn't at all correlated with the city council districts, right?
No, with the pilot program, we knew that we would have more success if these were already organized neighborhoods. And so most of them were neighborhood associations or already standing community groups, like the Roseland Community Building Group. South Park had their own group. So yeah, that we went through more organized neighborhoods, but it can be open to any neighborhood group, whether it be, like an association or just, a non-formal group, informal group.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yep.
I'll ask a question too.
Sure.
Is are we still gonna have just community improvement program grant projects? I get the name mixed up.
I know.
Are we still gonna have just, because I know that we have Neighborhood Fest coming back in 2022. We have the hybrid with the Neighborhood Fest with a project. You can get more money, but are we gonna have just a project?
I think that's a very good question, and it is actually something the CAB needs to decide, because right now the resolution states that it's just NeighborFest with the project. So if you want to go back to doing also just a project, we're gonna have to update that resolution, which is easy to do, and I'm sure the council will be fine doing that. We had wanted to give the community opportunity to really embrace NeighborFest, but at this point, now that we've been through a pandemic, I think that we need to be a little bit more open with our options.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's also kind of a gateway to maybe
Mhm.
doing a Neighborhood Fest, you know, for some of those neighborhoods that maybe we haven't connected with yet, or they haven't
Mhm.
been engaged yet. So, and maybe the amount is a little bit different or something like that, but I think it's a great way to kind of start the process toward there.
Also, we also in our listening sessions last summer heard from some community groups that NeighborFest just is not, it's just not for them. That's not where they want their focus to be. So I think we should be a little bit more flexible in the options that we have to offer to the community, so that, you know, this is an accessible, inclusive grant program for everyone. Yeah.
Great. We'll
Yeah.
keep that on tab.
Thanks. So one of the other things I forgot to mention, actually there are two. So when we initially planned NeighborFest, we obviously started small because we wanted to evaluate just how NeighborFest went, and, you know, participation from both the neighborhoods and our community organizations. After that pilot program, we felt that it would be a great opportunity to invite any of our city departments that wanted to participate in these events to come out and table, because this is a great way to come connect with the community. I call it like, it's almost like a mobile city hall, where city hall is coming to the neighborhoods. So that's one option that I would like to keep open for next year. The other thing that we are working on here in our department, so everybody is familiar with the Multicultural Roots Project, I believe, I hope so. And so we found out that the Sonoma County Museum is actually doing something almost completely identical to what we're doing, except it's in video format.
Yeah.
And so we've decided to partner with them to basically bring all of our resources together. They can help us push our stories out even to an even bigger audience, and then we can help fill in some of the gaps where they might not have enough staff to go out and do all of the interviews. So we are looking at doing a couple of things with them. One is to help them with their video project. So we're still working out the logistics, but basically our vistas, and we will have a couple of interns this fall as well. We'll take that video equipment and go out into the community and do video interviews, so that we can share those videos through our city channels, but also the museum will be highlighting those videos there as well. We'll also be participating in the Dia de los Muertos event this fall at the museum. So we're working with them on that, and we're going to use that time hopefully to just do some recruitment for this and see if there's anybody who attends the exhibit at the museum, if they'd be interested in participating in the interviews that we're doing. The other part of it, so we do the interviews and then we share them through our city communication channels, and the museum shares them. The executive director of the museum learned about a program, I believe it was from Toronto, where they also use vistas to go out to various neighborhoods and do these interviews. But then at the end of the project, they held various block parties to share the videos and to share the stories. And so I thought, what a neat way this would be to incorporate that project into NeighborFest as well, if that's something that the neighborhood would like to have part of their event. Again, because the neighborhood, they're in charge of the event and the planning and whatnot, but we could also include a table to talk to people about the project, recruit people to be a part of these interviews. And if anyone wants to be interviewed the day of, to sit down and be interviewed on video with one of our vistas. So just 2 ideas I wanted to throw out there that we could make available to the neighborhoods if they wanted to take those on. So yeah, I just wanted to add those to your different options here as we start to plan out what NeighborFest is going to look like moving forward.
I really like the idea of being flexible for the neighborhoods that don't see a traditional NeighborFest being ideal for them. So I would love to see some neighborhoods be very creative and go outside the box, even if it's not exactly traditional NeighborFest. I had a question. You mentioned working with the museum. Is there going to be any tabling for CAB members, tabling opportunities for CAB members? I remember we did the market, and yeah, just wondering if there's going to be anything like that in the future.
Yeah, we're still not 100% sure yet what the rest of this year is going to look like. For city staff, right now, we are still not allowed to participate in any big community events or fund any big community events. And however, I believe in the next couple of weeks, we are going to have some availability to do that, but as long as it has a focus on disaster preparedness. So essentially, public safety staff will be allowed to resume their community meetings, for example, like in Oakmont, when they go out and do their disaster preparedness presentations with neighborhood groups. We could join in some of those meetings. The fire department is always open to having us tag along with them. It just depends on space, you know, what the size of the meeting is and how big their meeting space is going to be. So that might be a potential to, you know, have a little table off to the side, or a chance to just give a quick blurb about the CAB grant program and NeighborFest coming up next year. But as far as other events go, like I don't think the market's happening this year. I could be wrong, but I haven't heard of. Yeah, I haven't heard of anything.
Well, there's the whole open and out in downtown, and there's movies on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
There's a whole slew of stuff that's happening. So I'm surprised that you said that there's no permits, because there's a slew of things.
No, not permits. We can't participate as city staff. Okay. Yeah. I think permitting is slowly starting to happen, but we as staff can't participate in anything. So if there's something like the open and out and the movies and stuff like that in Courthouse Square, wherever they are, if you guys feel comfortable with having a table out there, I'm fine with that. I just am not. I'd have to get special permission basically from Magali to be out there, which she's pretty flexible with, and I think she would probably be okay with joining us as well. It just, we have to be a little bit cautious. I think we'd have to get special permission is basically what I'm trying to say. So
isn't the city kind of part of Open Out?
No, we are. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
But again, not supposed to be like out, like
you're not really open and out. Not out. That's all. No, I'm joking. It's so confusing.
I know. You know what it really is? I'll tell you guys what it is. It's Cal OSHA requirements and policies. We have to make sure that we are abiding by Cal OSHA guidelines. So, because if we're not, we get into a lot of trouble. Yeah, that's what we're waiting for. We're waiting for those guidelines to come out, because we thought we were also going to be back in the office this month, and we're not. So, yeah, we're just waiting.
And ideally, it sounds like, just to piggyback off of what Keith was asking, to me, it sounds like it's always ideal to have staff. Like, you wouldn't send CAB by themselves to an event table.
Right.
Because we really need the backup,
Yeah.
the expertise, and the ability to answer those nuanced questions.
Yeah.
So,
I'm gonna make a note for myself to chat with Magali about how we would go about. I mean, because if we're out in Courthouse Square, like for example, when people are out at restaurants, it's not like we're gathering in large groups or having large groups of people come gather around us. It's catching those people that are out and about for, a meal or whatever. And then those who attend a movie, for example. So
yeah.
let me see what we can do on our end about that. So, because I know, I mean, there's quite a few of us that are like, can we please start talking to people again in person, please? So yeah, okay.
Hey, I think I helped us veer away from NeighborFest, but were there any other questions about NeighborFest? Okay, so let's go to future agenda items. Number 4. Does anyone have topics they want to see on future
Yeah,
agenda?
so this is basically your guys' chance to start talking about like how you want to spend your meeting times from now on. So what do you want to work on? Do you want to report back on neighborhood meeting attendance, or I want to make the most out of this 1 hour that we have together.
So we probably want NeighborFest and the Citizen Guidebook and Civic 101 on the agendas regularly.
Okay.
I want to talk about the CAB and the committee structure, but that might be something for the whole CAB to discuss rather than just the committee.
I think
yeah.
also, oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
As we approve the community improvement project grants, that I remember previously, even though it didn't happen because of COVID, that we were going to kind of be 1 or 2, I think 2 CAB members were going to be assigned to each one to kind of maybe be not facilitators, but just on,
right.
there to kind of be a presence. And maybe it seems kind of similar to Neighborhood Fest, implementing Neighborhood Fest. So maybe that's something that we need to chat about here, because in August, we will have approved the grants. So maybe that's something that we need to kind of come to a resolution about, like how are we going to then be a presence out at these projects that are going to be happening.
Okay. Yes, I remember that. It's like basically like project liaisons. You're the liaison to the yeah.
It's hard for me to to verbalize it because it was a concept when I heard about it, and then we didn't really get to implement. So
I know. It also helps me too, because you're helping provide that technical assistance to the groups, which helps me not get bombarded all the time by groups. But it keeps you connected to the community too, right? And it helps build those relationships with these groups. And so hopefully they come back in another 2 years or so to reapply or something. So
yeah. And
are you saying that? Oh, sorry.
Go right ahead.
So are you saying maybe our next meeting, our next subcommittee meeting, we each get assigned or choose 1 or 2 of the projects that get approved, and we're the liaison moving forward? Does that timing work?
Is that what your hope was? Yeah.
Yeah, or either by then we will know how many are approved, and we can come together as a subcommittee and decide, is that something that the whole CAB then is involved in. So we would actually then present it to the CAB
Mhm.
in August, at the August meeting, and say, okay, now this is what we're looking for, and kind of have a better definition of what the liaisons would do at those projects, and what we would be responsible for, so that all members of the CAB would somehow be involved in that, or have the opportunity at least to be involved.
So it wouldn't just be our subcommittee, it would be the entire CAB that would have an opportunity. Okay.
Yeah.
I know for me, I'd like to have the opportunity. I'm new at CAB, and I'm new at all this, and
Yeah.
with COVID, and then with the not having the quorums, I feel like I'm not really engaged yet. So if I can get one or two of those projects and link in with them, I would feel like I'd made a step forward. And it would just kind of, I don't know. For me, it sounds like a really good way to get engaged when it's
Yeah.
been challenging lately to be engaged.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel so bad for you, new members that joined during the pandemic, because this is like not how we do things at all. It's been
okay.
really
Well,
hard.
that means there's nowhere to go but up, right?
Yes, exactly.
Right.
We're usually always in person, always at events. This has been rough. I think also to piggyback on that item too, maybe the group can talk about an outreach plan for the grants, so that CAB feels that they have a little bit more ownership over the outreach as well. Because that was, I think, one of the reasons why we only got 6 applications this time. And just to let you know, I did mention this today in the grant meeting, but some of our violence prevention staff and some of our VISTAs are actually going out to some of the neighborhoods that are meeting currently due to violence in their neighborhoods. They are providing that information to these neighborhoods about the next grant cycle. And so hopefully we'll have a little bit, some more people applying, or more groups applying, as well as the organizations that the partnership works with too. So our hope that while we do this, we create more interest in the program for the next round. Hopefully you guys will have like 50 applications to choose from next time rather than 6. I'm just kidding, but that has happened before. So just be ready. Okay, outreach plan.
So yeah, it sounds like an outreach plan and a liaison plan would be things that we could talk about.
Okay, cool. And then Keith, we can definitely talk in this subcommittee about CAB and the community structure. Maybe start the conversation here, and then bring it to the full CAB if you find that helpful, or we could do it at the broader CAB meeting.
Yeah, either way. But yeah, I would just since we have gone down from 3 committees to 2, and one of them is not really there. I was wondering if we could just take a look at the structure, and maybe we don't need committees, maybe we need more committees. I don't even know. I just wanted to just kind of think about it and discuss it. The first set
I
of
vote
eyes.
for no more committees. But no, that is a great, that is something that the CAB needs to talk about. So okay.
And the other thing I wanted to discuss with it is, and I brought this up before, it might have been like a year ago, but just the committees bonding together. I just feel like if our committee could get together, if the board could get together and have a better relationship with each other, I feel like we care more about the work we do on CAB, and members would show up more, and members would contribute more.
Yeah.
So I just want to talk about how we can improve morale or relationship or bonding, whatever.
You need a board retreat, but then we'd have to open it up to the.
Absolutely.
Still has to be open to the public though, so let's gotta figure out how to do that.
I think it will.
All right.
I think it will. It's gonna. Some of that hopefully will work itself out as we are able to meet a little bit. And there was some mention, because I brought it up today at the mayor's meeting, but the need for space. So I put that on Chris's radar. And there has been, I guess, some look at the Finley Center
Mhm.
for the community services. That's probably you, right? And but Chris also said, there is the potential of using the city council chamber. So I don't know, his creative mind was at work, how that would work, but in that hybrid fashion, because
Yeah.
you could sit some in and we could be at different offices on computers too. So
That's the point. Yeah.
I'm completely jumping forward. That was not what he said. That was like my creative mind taking what he said and kind of moving it. So don't say, Chris, you said this. He just said, well,
Yeah.
maybe the city council chambers. And I thought, oh, well, they do it like this. So,
I'm
but I know
only
that
laughing.
that's a lot of staff energy too. But
No, I'm only laughing at the Finley idea because literally that would be the cab coming full circle, because the cab started meeting at the Finley originally, and then we moved to the Office of Community Engagement because it was such a great space. But now, because we need more space to make this work in person, I mean, going back to Finley would be, that just makes me laugh.
Yeah. Well,
Anyway.
the mention was from the community services board, and their chair said that the staff have been looking to outfit the Pearson Senior Center or Senior Wing for them. So if it can be outfitted for them, it could potentially be outfitted for us. Except
for they meet the same exact day as we do.
Oh,
and
well,
they're usually run into, I know. We're not getting too far off topic, but we are looking at the UFO as a potential meeting space because it's such a large, there's 3 separate conference rooms that open into one. And so that'll probably work. But there's other spaces in Finley as well that might work. So, okay. So I have standing agenda items, Neighbor Fest and Civic 101 videos, but then cabin community structure, the committees, Keith had mentioned the committees and all cab opportunities for bonding, and then liaison plan and an outreach plan for the grant program. Sound good?
Sounds good. Just one quick thing to add. I want to build on to what Keith was saying. My first committee meeting, but we're empowerment. And I thought we need to empower the entire cab to show up at each meeting and get engaged. And that's kind of what I think Keith was alluding to. So however I can help, or this team can help, because that seems to be a real issue since I've just been a member since February. But maybe that's our role because we're empowering, right?
Okay. Yeah, great.
And just so Keith and Beth and Candace and everybody knows, that's part of why I invited our mayor to speak at our next meeting. So partly because I hope that by seeing on the agenda that the mayor is going to be there on our July 28th meeting would bring about a greater attendance and more enthusiasm. Also, Chris is very infectious and gregarious and has a lot of great knowledge. He's been on CAB before. That's his committee or his board that he was on prior to being elected, and he has a lot of great knowledge to share with us. So we need a quorum on July 28th in order to see through these grants. And to me, that's extremely important because we need to have a good show for the community. They have put their trust in us, and they've put their energy and their time into filling out those applications, coming up with great ideas, following through. This is the first of our quarter system with the community improvement project grants. So I feel a great responsibility, and imparting that onto Chris Rogers, he agreed, and he's going to be there to talk about just the importance of CAB, because sometimes, you know, it might feel a little intangible. And that wasn't untrue prior to the COVID and the pandemic, but certainly during COVID and the pandemic, it has become more true that it's hard to feel those tangible moments where we're engaged and we're empowering, and you know, we're doing the community work that we wanted to do when we signed up. So I'm hoping that this meeting coming up is going to be a great start at a turning point for that.
Yeah. Thank you. And if for some reason or another we don't have quorum, you guys are going to see an ugly side of me that you've never seen before.
No, don't do that.
Don't make me go there.
Because it's wasted on the people that show up. So you know what I'm saying?
I know. No, I would never do that. But really, I'm being optimistic. Like I really, because this is such an important meeting for the grant program, like I'm really optimistic that things will go well. So, and I will send out, just know that I am going to send out like a daily reminder every single day until we meet, so that I can show that I did my due diligence to get people there. So if you see that, don't get annoyed. Just, okay, there's her daily reminder. That's fine.
For any other board, I would reply all and try to encourage them as well, but I'm not allowed to do that with this
Yep.
city government.
Yeah.
Board.
Yeah.
I really appreciate everybody here for continuing to show up. I mean, it is, you know, everybody's had different personal challenges and, you know, time challenges. You know, Candace right here is a perfect example. She is, I can feel it still. Candace, you're, you know, still whirling about what is going on right now. And I wish I could jump through the screen and give you a hug.
No.
So I appreciate you being here. And I also want to acknowledge that we're just a couple minutes away from 7 o'clock, so we can get out of here on time too. But if Keith is facilitating.
Yes.
All right. Any other agenda items to discuss for future meetings?
No.
Okay. Then it looks like we're at number 5, adjournment. Thanks, everyone.
Do we have
Thank
to
you,
make a
everybody.
motion? We're
Yeah.
good?
Yeah, do it real quick. Do a motion.
For adjournment.
Oh,
We need a second.
Second.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you.
all right. We
Thank
have
you
a motion. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Great.
Thank you,
All
everybody.
the best, Candace. All the best.
Thank you.
Yes. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.